This lick is a great example of how Guthrie uses his fingers to pick, and he gets a thicker sound out of it than he would with using a pick. It's also the way he manipulates the notes with his left hand, sliding into things and everything. He gets this thick kind of slide-like tone. Another thing to take note of, again, we kind of get lost as guitar players. We're really attracted to what I call guitar gymnastics, the whole playing fast notes, fast patterns, sequences, outside scales, and all that. But when it comes down to it, you really need to base everything, for the most part, with melodic phrases. And Guthrie does a great job of this, and this is something that might get overlooked in this lick. I think part of the coolest part of this phrase is the beginning of this, where he's bending just a few notes. He's manipulating between whole step and half step bends and step and a half bends, and he's playing with one fretted note with multiple pitches, and it's just a really cool way of phrasing, and it offsets perfectly all those really fast lines and everything, and makes those stand out even more. So the idea here, he's using his thumb at the very beginning on the G string, 15th fret, and he plays that 3 times, and he gets this nice thick tone out of it. And right there on the B string, he bends the 16th fret up a whole step, then he bends it up a step and a half, so he goes, then he bends it again a whole step, so it's a whole step bend, then a step and a half bend, then a whole step bend. So you have, then he adds some vibrato. Then the next thing he gets into, he plays the 18th fret, he goes up a whole step, and this is the one where he manipulates to 3 different pitches. He bends this from the 18th fret to the 21st fret, and then he walks down chromatically from 21, 20, 19, back down to the fretted note, 18. But he's only holding one note, but he's walking down with a bend, so you have, but he's not picking those notes. Again, the bends are coming. You could hear all those things, and I'm trying to exaggerate it so you hear those pitches, but I'm vibrating, doing vibrato in between each pitch. Right? Then he just pulls off. But it's a really cool thing where he's only playing 2 fretted notes, but he's getting all these chromatic pitches out of it. And again, I'm exaggerating with those bends because I want you to hear those pitches. But the cool thing is, then after that, he just quickly hits the 15th fret on the E string, bends that up a step and a half. Then there's a bunch of little slides. Then he gets into this other little pivoting note thing, which we'll get into in a second. But if you notice the phrasing of that too, if you look at the transcription of this, everything's kind of on an off beat except for when he goes down that arpeggio. That's on the head of the first beat of the measure. So the rhythmic displacement of some of these ideas is really important too. It's just something to point out and be conscious of, because it really does affect your phrases. So the next concept in this lick is where Guthrie starts playing again with that staccato feel in his phrasing. And take notice, he's reusing these concepts over and over again, but somehow they just never sound exactly the same. The concept's there, but the actual lick itself is completely different, and that's just his masterful way of twisting these things around and turning them. So this staccato lick leads into a little chromatic run on the E string, which again works its way slowly. He's working up into that fast run, which is the legato run. So this lick goes like this. Gets into that whole legato thing. But if you notice that very beginning, it's just a short little section of staccato where he goes, it's again, there's little rests in there. You got to check the transcription out to see where that is happening and how it's offsetting. It's not exactly 2 notes rest, 2 notes rest. Everything's slightly offset. So you have, so then he repeats that twice, and that's where things turn around a little bit. And before he gets into that run where he starts walking up chromatically and he's pivoting off of the 6th fret on either the G or the B string, he also throws in this few extra notes, so it just doesn't sound like he's going from this staccato lick to a chromatic thing. And that gets him walking up into that chromatic thing. And if you notice, then he slides into the legato thing, and he goes down chromatically. And then he starts getting into that sequence, which if you check out that sequence, it's nothing, again, repeats. It's all, he'll throw in a chromatic thing, a scalular thing, he'll go up 3 notes. You know, it's really, really cool how he just turns everything around. And the reason why I keep pointing this out is because that's what makes his playing sound so unique and not repetitive and pattern-oriented.